Visualize this. You are 6 months pregnant and simultaneously caring for 23 children. This scenario encapsulates the grim reality faced by many royal women throughout history. For centuries, these women were merely expected to bear children. They were viewed as prolific childbearers, trapped in an unrelenting cycle of pregnancy and loss. Their worth was often quantified solely by their reproductive capabilities. Married off as teenagers, these queens found themselves ensnared in a brutal routine. Conceive, give birth, hand over the newborn to nurses, recuperate just enough to regain strength, and return to the royal bedchamber to initiate the cycle once more. Rather than fearing menopause, they awaited it as the only means of escape from their exhausting duties. In this episode, we delve into the extraordinary lives of 8 queens throughout history who delivered the most children. Beginning with Mumtaz Mahal, born in 1593 to Persian nobility, she wed the future emperor Shah Jahan at the tender age of 19. While Shah Jahan had 2 other political wives, each of whom bore him 1 child, his heart belonged exclusively to Mumtaz. He considered her the epitome of beauty and virtue, and she served not only as his spouse, but also as his most trusted advisor, accompanying him on journeys, including military campaigns. He lavished her with incredible wealth and granted her the highest salary ever awarded to a Mughal empress. Together, they welcomed 14 children into the world, though only 7 survived to adulthood, among them the influential Jahanara Begum and Aurangzeb, who would ultimately ascend to the throne. Tragically, Mumtaz's final childbirth was a disastrous ordeal. After an agonizing 30 hours of labor delivering their 14th child, Gohar, she succumbed to bleeding complications. Devastated, Shah Jahan immortalized his grief by commissioning the magnificent Taj Mahal, which served as her tomb. He was interred beside her 27 years later, and his death set off a fierce power struggle among their 4 surviving sons, with Aurangzeb emerging as the next ruthless Mughal emperor. Next, we explore Queen Charlotte, born in 1744, a German princess known for being Britain's first recorded queen, with ancestral ties tracing back to Africa across 13 generations. She married King George III of Britain when she was just 17 years old. To the surprise of many, they cherished their quiet family life far more than the royal festivities. Charlotte was quick to become a mother, giving birth to their first child, the future King George IV, within a year of their marriage. Over the next 21 years, she bore 15 children: George IV, Frederick, William IV, Charlotte, Queen of Württemberg, Edward, father of Queen Victoria, Augusta, Elizabeth, Ernest, Augustus, King of Hanover, Adolphus, Mary, Sophia, Octavius, Alfred, and Amelia. Despite her deep affection for her children, Charlotte found the continuous pregnancies overwhelming. While expecting her 14th child, she lamented, "I don't think a prisoner could wish more ardently for his liberty than I wish to be rid of my burden. I would be happy if I knew it was the last time." Sadly, Charlotte faced tragedy when her young sons, Alfred, aged 2, and Octavius, aged 4, succumbed to smallpox. Remarkably, the remaining children survived to adulthood. Traumatized by her own experiences, Charlotte became fiercely protective of her daughters, postponing their marriages. Some never married, while others waited until their 40s, prioritizing their education and keeping them close. In her later years, King George III battled severe mental illness, compelling their eldest son to act as Prince Regent. Charlotte passed away at the age of 74, surrounded by several of her children. We also highlight Eleonora, a Spanish princess named after her illustrious great-great-grandmother, Eleanor of Aquitaine. She married the future King Edward I of England at the tender age of 13, while he was only 15. Known as a fierce warrior, Edward conquered Wales and fought against Scotland, but at home, he proved to be a loyal and devoted spouse. Eleonora showcased remarkable resilience, accompanying Edward on grueling military expeditions while giving birth to 16 children. Her firstborn, a child born when she was merely 13, tragically died within days, and her next 2 children, Catherine and Joan, also perished shortly after birth. Tragic outcomes that were all too common for young mothers whose bodies were not yet ready for childbirth. Her sons Joan and Henry survived infancy, but died before reaching the age of 10. Eleonora's 6th child was the first to survive to adulthood. During a crusade with her husband, she experienced the heartbreak of delivering a stillborn daughter. As time passed, her health deteriorated further. The death of her only surviving son, Alonso, the heir to the throne, from illness at a young age, compounded her grief. Yet Eleonora endured one final pregnancy, giving birth to Edward, who would later become the ill-fated King Edward II. In 1307, while marching with her husband in northern England, she contracted malaria, and her weakened body could not withstand the illness. Before she passed away at the age of 48, her children were summoned to bid her farewell. King Edward, shrouded in grief, arranged for 12 exquisitely crafted stone crosses to be placed along the funeral route from Lincoln to London, commemorating her passing. In total, she bore 16 children. Next, we turn to Kiran, known as Anna, the daughter of a Turkish prince. She married King Leo II of Armenia before 1262. Records extol her exquisite beauty and character, depicting her as a steadfast partner to her husband through thick and thin. Remarkably, she gave birth to an astounding total of 16 children, including 10 single births and 3 sets of twins. Tragically, her first son died in infancy, as did her subsequent children, Constantine and Phime. Her fourth child, Hethum II, ascended to the throne but was later murdered. The line of succession continued with Isabella and later Taurus III, who succeeded his murdered brother, only to meet a similar fate. Queen Kiran's final pregnancy resulted in another set of twins, Ashin and Alan, the latter of whom also eventually became king, but also faced assassination. After so many years of childbirth, Queen Kiran eventually sought solace in a monastery, where she chose to become a nun and lived out the remainder of her life, passing away in 1285. Maria Theresa, born in 1717, ascended as the Holy Roman Empress. At the age of 19, she married Francis Stephen, Duke of Lorraine, and fell profoundly in love. Regrettably, he proved unfaithful throughout their union. With women facing considerable restrictions in ruling their territories, Maria Theresa appointed Francis as co-emperor, but kept him from participating in crucial decisions. She wielded the mantle of power, fiercely defending her realm, instituting reforms, and approving policies. Over the next 19 years, she bore 16 children, declaring that had she not been perpetually pregnant, she would have led her forces into battle personally. She strategically utilized her 13 surviving children as pawns in political marriages across Europe. Smallpox ravaged her family, tragically claiming the lives of several children. In a pioneering move, Maria Theresa advocated for the life-saving smallpox inoculation for her offspring. Among her notable children were Ferdinand, Marie Antoinette, who would later become the Queen of France, and Maximilian Francis, the Archbishop. After enduring the anguish of Francis's many affairs, she established a chastity commission to combat prostitution, homosexuality, and adultery, secretly hoping to catch her unfaithful husband. After 29 years of marriage, Francis passed away, and Maria Theresa mourned him in black for the rest of her life. Ultimately, she contracted smallpox herself and died at the age of 63. Following in her mother's footsteps, Maria Carolina inherited Maria Theresa's extraordinary ability to bear children. The bond between the two sisters, Maria Carolina and Marie Antoinette, future Queen of France, was incredibly close. Her mother had previously arranged marriages for 3 of Maria Carolina's sisters with King Ferdinand of Naples and Sicily, but the tragic fate of smallpox claimed their lives, leaving Maria Carolina terrified of her own future. Pleading not to be married, convinced it was a cursed fate, her wishes went unheeded, and at the age of 15 she was sent to Italy. Almost instantly, she felt contempt for her husband, finding him unattractively crude during their wedding night. However, duties took precedence. Maria Carolina gave birth to an astonishing 17 children. However, only 7 survived to adulthood. Her husband Ferdinand was a weak ruler, allowing Maria Carolina to seize power and utilize her surviving children in significant political marriages throughout Europe. When Napoleon invaded, the family fled to Austria in search of refuge from her nephew, Emperor Francis I. Tragically, before Ferdinand could reclaim his throne, the beleaguered Queen Maria Carolina was found dead on her floor, surrounded by paperwork. She had succumbed to a stroke at the age of 62, never witnessing Napoleon's downfall or her husband's return. Born in 1665, Anne was the daughter of the future King James II. At the age of 18, she wed Prince George of Denmark. Their life together was marked by heartbreaking loss. Their first child, a daughter, was stillborn. In quick succession, they welcomed two more daughters, Mary and Anne Sophia. But tragically, both died during a smallpox outbreak when they were just toddlers. The grieving couple often sat in silence, hand in hand, lost in sorrow. Over the course of 16 years, Anne endured a staggering 18 pregnancies, with each one ending in heartbreak, either through miscarriage, stillbirth, or early death. Only a few children lived long enough to be given names. Her seventh child, Prince William, Duke of Gloucester, held the longest survival, becoming the apple of Anne's eye and the last glimmer of hope for the Stuart dynasty. Tragically, he too succumbed at the age of 11 to an unknown illness. The subsequent pregnancies, including those of Mary and George, produced live births that lasted mere hours. Her 15th pregnancy ended in miscarriage, with twins too early to identify. Medical professionals now theorize that Anne suffered from Hughes syndrome, an affliction that affects blood flow through small veins, in which a simple aspirin might have saved her babies. This poignant realization adds to the tragedy of her life. Finally, we arrive at the record holder, Darajan Dadiani, Queen of Georgia, who bore an astounding 23 children. Born in 1738, she was married at just 12 years old to the 30-year-old future King Heraclius II, who was already a father to 4 sons from a previous marriage. Over the next 3 decades, Queen Darajan delivered an astonishing 23 children, of whom 13 survived to adulthood. Determined that her sons should inherit the throne instead of her stepsons, she pressured Heraclius to sign a will specifying that the throne would pass to her sons after his eldest son George ruled. Following Heraclius's death, King George III promptly nullified the will, claiming that his stepmother had coerced his father. This incited a fierce rivalry between George and his stepmother, along with her 5 surviving sons, Miran, Alexander, and Parnaz, who sought powerful allies, with George aligning himself with Russia and Darajan's sons connecting with Iran. A failed coup by Alexander resulted in Queen Darajan's arrest and imprisonment. When King George III died in 1800, Russia intervened, and Darajan implored Tsar Alexander I to make one of her sons king instead of George's offspring, Prince David. In a shocking move, the Tsar annexed Georgia, ending 1,000 years of the Dadiani dynasty's rule. Darajan and her family were forced into exile in Russia, where they lived in surveillance. The once mighty queen spent her final years in a rented house in St. Petersburg, passing away in 1807 at the age of 69. These queens were far more than mere mothers. They were formidable dynastic warriors who endured physical and emotional challenges that most of us struggle to comprehend. Their wombs became battlegrounds. Their children represented both their deepest loves and their most crucial political tools in a treacherous game of power. Their stories are not only shocking and heartbreaking, but also serve as a powerful reminder of the crushing weight of royal expectation and duty throughout history. Subscribe to Historic Horizon and hit the bell icon to explore more captivating stories from Europe's rich past. Like, share, and comment to support our journey and help us bring history to life for everyone.